Hey guys, Aurelia here. This is a guide to defeating Feng the Accursed on 25-man normal difficulty. This fight revolves around two main mechanics. At the start of the fight, two crystals spawn. If your tanks click on these crystals, they gain an extra action button with a special ability. The tank that clicks on the right crystal will gain access to Nullification Barrier. This is a cooldown that creates a shield around where you stand and prevents any magical damage to anyone standing inside it. It also prevents certain boss abilities. The tank that clicks on the left crystal gains access to Shroud of Reversal. This works in a similar way to Dark Simulacrum. The tank can place Shroud of Reversal on a friendly target, and any spells that hit that friendly target can then be used by the tank on the boss. The fight has three phases that switch every 33% of the boss's health. The phases are chosen randomly. Throughout the fight, he has a stacking debuff that he applies to the tank. Your tank should just swap every 2 to 3 stacks to counter this. They can also use Shroud of Reversal to reflect this damage back to the boss. In his Spirit of the Fist phase, he will cast two main abilities. One is Lightning Fists, which sends a shockwave of lightning in 3 directions. If you get hit by it, you take very high lightning damage and get stunned. The second ability is Epicenter. This deals high damage to the entire raid every second for 8 seconds and does more damage the closer you are to him. It also reduces your chance to hit by 75% while he casts it. The way you should handle this phase is simple. Have your entire raid stack up in melee range of the boss. There are two ways you can handle Epicenter. Firstly, your tank can use Nullification Barrier on top of the boss. This will protect you from the damage of Epicenter for 6 seconds as long as you stand in it, making it completely healable. The tank can only do this for every second Epicenter though. For the other Epicenter, the other tank can interrupt it using his Shroud of Reversal. To do this, have one of your DPS stand outside of melee range. When he casts Lightning Fists, your tank should use the Shroud of Reversal on that assigned DPS, and that DPS should deliberately get hit. This gives your tank the ability to cast Lightning Fists himself, which he can use to interrupt the next Epicenter cast. This means that you can interrupt the first Epicenter, shield the second, interrupt the third, and so on. In his Spirit of the Spear phase, he will cast Wildfire Spark on random people. This creates wildfire at the location of the player after a few seconds, which moves around and does high damage if you touch it. He will also cast Draw Flame. This pulls all the wildfire in the room towards him and gives him a buff with stacks dependent on how much fire he absorbed. Every time he hits the tank, he loses 1 stack and does 60,000 fire damage to everyone in the raid. This phase is really simple. Have your boss tanked side on to the wall with your raid behind. If anyone gets Wildfire Spark, they need to run to the centre of the room. This means that when the boss casts Draw Flame and pulls the fire towards him, the fire will move directly to his side and be absorbed and will not touch the raid. When he casts Draw Flame, your tank can use Nullification Barrier on top of him to destroy any fire that moves in, preventing him from getting any stacks at all. He can only do this on every second cast though, due to its cooldown, so half of them you'll need to use raid cooldowns to heal through the damage and survive. In his Spirits of the Staff phase, he will cast two main abilities. Arcane Velocity is a raid-wide AoE that he channels. It does damage every second, and the damage is higher the further you are away from him, so you need to be stacked up during this cast. His other ability is Arcane Resonance. This targets a random player, or 2 random players on 25-man, and causes them to deal small damage to themselves and anyone else within 6 yards. However, the damage it deals is doubled for every player it hits, which means if you're stacked up, everyone will instantly die. In this phase, the best thing to do is tank the boss in the middle of the room and have your ranged and healers spread out around him, close enough that they can run in quickly, but further than 6 yards apart from anyone else. When he starts to cast Arcane Velocity, everyone runs in to reduce the damage, although whoever had Arcane Resonance should stay outside, but as close as possible. Just before his cast finishes, everyone should run out again. You should start running out before his cast is finished because he can cast Arcane Resonance immediately afterwards, and if you move out too late, you blow up. The tank can use Nullification Barrier to prevent damage from Arcane Velocity as long as people stand inside the barrier. For more guides, remember to subscribe or visit wowraids.org, or you can watch me live every day on twitch.tv/Aurelia.